Hi everyone and welcome back to BD Studios. Here I am again, playing with craft paper. What I'm doing in this video is I'm going to show you how to use multiple medias. We're going to use acrylic paint, we're going to use oil pastels, and we're going to blend and have a great time just randomly sketching a face. Very simple, just two eyes, the illusion of a face. I'm just loosely giving myself a template of what I'm gonna paint. I wasn't thinking too much. I'm like a flower, a sun, a face, some wings, almost like an angel. So what I'm doing right now is just roughly sketching so you have a nice template. So I started off with oil pastels. These are big chunky pencils, crayons. So what I discovered recently is that you can paint over these and you get this beautiful muted effect. So I'm just doing my first layer. It takes you back to kindergarten. You are literally using crayons to draw. And don't, forgive yourself. You messed up, you can just go over it again with when I start layering the acrylic. You can blend it, mix it. Here I'm using like a skin tone. I'm mixing the black and the gray, a little more brown. So a little more skin tone. And then I go back into red. And at the same time you're picking up the black lines that you made, you're picking it up with the different colors. So it starts creating an interesting blend of colors.
Texture, yes. But what I like about these, they're oil pastels, and I've never used really oil pastels. Tell me, are they very similar to crayons?
The first time I picked it up, I'm like, what is this? This is a crayon. This is the stuff I used to use when I was a little kid or till recently, because I love coloring. I still love to color in a coloring book like little kids. I love it. So it does have the effect of a crayon. However, they're a lot more oilier, let's say.
Yeah, and do they dry? Do you have to worry about them drying like oil paints?
No, they dry immediately. And they're so satisfying because you can do something like this in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
See?
And the color's so vibrant.
You see how I'm just going in circles. Obviously I have this at a fast speed, but really between me and you, I was coloring really fast. I was just, whatever comes out of this, I wanted to be in the zone. I was listening to some music. I love music while I create.
Yes, it helps a lot.
But again, I'm just going over my pencil marks.
So it's as if they disappear.
Right. They start disappearing. And if a little bit shows through, it kind of adds a nice fun, different medium. So there I was trying to make a sun, but it kind of looks like a flower. I don't know.
You just keep going.
I keep going.
And this is only the first layer. So again, you're building upon color, texture kind of thing.
Yes.
And are you thinking about anything here about balance or color, or you're just coloring?
I'm really not. I'm just coloring. I'm just coloring like when you were a kid. And while I am putting the yellow, which balances off, the yellow and green that balances off from the other side, I am making the background white, like if he or she, this is almost, could be a he or she. I am using now
the
Tim Holtz distress paint, a little bit of white. I'm also using acrylic, so at this point I'm mixing both. I'm doing a little bit of acrylic, I'm doing a little bit of the distress paint. I'm starting to blend so that you don't get the chalky marks of the oil pastels.
So you can just go right over the top of
the
oils.
Yes, it's delicious. If you haven't tried this, you have to try it. You see how it starts creating almost like a cloudy effect?
Yes, and it gets rid of all of those crayon marks.
Exactly. And that's why I enjoy it so much. And I am not staying within the lines on purpose. I want it to be mysterious. I want it to be muted. I wanted one color to blend into the other. See what I'm doing up there?
Yeah. You're just kind of highlighting.
And if you look at the color palette that I have off to the side, it's white, it's brown, it's black.
Very earthy colors.
Earthy colors. So I'm softening the yellow that I put before with white. I'm softening it with a little bit of like a
That
brown.
Is that like a brown ochre?
That's acrylic.
Okay.
That's acrylic right there. Then I'm cleaning my brush, which you should always do.
Now you're adding a little more acrylic.
Look, that's green. See, I did acrylic green now to soften
Nice.
the oil pastel
Right.
green. The lighting is not great, but when I turn it around, you'll be able to see all the different colors that I did on that sunflower. I was kind of going for a sunflower effect.
I love how you just keep adding layers upon layers.
And when my brush was dirty from the sunflower, I give a little bit to, see, right
did a
there. So that
the
the
highlight.
sun is hitting him or her. It's more of a him.
It's good to have a light perspective where the light comes from.
So what am I doing now? Let's see. Oh, I added more acrylic. See, that's a little acrylic. So I'm reinforcing the blue that I did with the crayon, but with a little bit of white, with a little bit more of blue, just to give you that.
I just love that you can paint over it and just change it.
Okay, so this is a great little tool. This is a silicone tapered point brush tip. I am squishing or muting or softening, I guess the word would be softening, all the lines that I made with the crayons.
You blend it.
I'm blending. That's the right word. I'm blending. See, I'm going over it because I don't like it to look like a crayon. I
Right.
want it to be mysterious and muted and
And are you taking color off, or you're just
a little bit. See how I
Yeah.
clean it on the table? But these silicone tips are awesome. It's almost like an eraser, but not really.
I love that. So tools are important also.
Yeah. I mean, I had never used it. It came with a brush set, and then I tried it one day, and I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. I like it a lot. I'm dry brushing now. So what I'm doing is what I just did right now was clean all the oil pastels off with a dry bristle brush to blend it. Now what I'm doing is adding acrylic, almost the same color acrylic as I did with the crayons, but when you mix the oil pastel and the acrylic, you get that almost waxy effect,
Right, but smooth.
but smooth.
It doesn't have the textures of the chalk.
So what did I do? I went back and forth. I added acrylic. I added the liquid,
The distress paint.
the distress paint.
And what's the difference between the acrylic and the distress?
The acrylic paint is a lot thicker and more full-bodied. When you use the distress paint, it's watered down. It's a mix between a watercolor and an acrylic, and that's the best description I can give it.
That's good. So you
So
have
it adds a little bit of
different types.
translucency, which is kind of fun for a piece like this.
Yeah, and I love all the different textures, even though, and you can still see the oil pastel chalky, but it's not what your eye goes to first.
Right. That's what I like a lot about it. There, I'm using black this time.
You just reinforce it.
I'm reinforcing, but with very little paint on the brush. I didn't want it to be too, but I lost part of the black there. So you see how I clean it? I clean it a lot. I'm reinforcing all the black lines, but not
Barely.
But barely. That's the thing about acrylic. It's very heavy-handed, so you have to clean your brush really well. See, I go back and clean, and I put a little bit more, and go back and clean.
You're just adding dimension there, reinforcing the shape.
Right, adding shadow between the different brush strokes and the different marks. Here I go again. I'm adding a little more so I can just create more depth.
Yes. The more layers, the more layers.
Yeah. Well, I just like things a little more heavy-handed. Some people like really soft. This is me soft.
I love how it just changes with every color, with every technique.
It is a little mesmerizing. It is.
So you're just adding shadows.
Just adding shadows, a little more on the face, just to soften it up. Now I'm doing the wings. I wasn't sure if it was an angel, but it gives me angel vibes. So what I did was I did white, and I did a little bit of blue. Kind of like the sky. And then I think there I'm doing like a little mixture of the...
You didn't use any oil pastels there. You're just using acrylics.
Yes, but I'm using the translucent, the Jim Holtz also. It starts coming together, and it's such a fun technique. If you've never tried it, I encourage everyone to. The oil pastels are not expensive. Go and buy yourself some oil pastels. Buy yourself a starter kit of acrylics if you're not, if you don't have acrylics, and just play.
And on the craft paper, do you have to add more color because it's a darker brown?
Well, this is what I love about the craft paper. It starts giving you some kind of depth that you weren't aware you could, that you could achieve. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it a lot. I'm gonna make a lot more of these. But once you see how you can blend all the different colors. The oil pastel was there. Now I'm adding the acrylics. I'm doing a dry brush again. I don't want you to see my deliberate crayon marks. So I'm dry brushing everything. And adding more color, blending so that it relates. You're relating the color on the bottom to the colors on the top. See how there's yellow and a little bit of blue?
And so there you layer, you put a base color, you layer a little more color on top.
Yep. And along the way, I went ahead and I did a little more cleaning with the silicone brush.
And you don't have to worry about the colors bleeding into each other. You
That's
can just
what,
go over the white.
That's what makes it yummy. Mm-hmm. Turn your stuff around. I like to turn it around. I like to be in control of the art. The art doesn't control me. And I like to paint. I particularly like to paint on a flat surface. A lot of people have easels. I barely use easels unless I'm doing a big piece. So I turn it around so that I can get to the piece nice. And plus, you don't put your hand on the part that you painted already, which is important because you mess up, get paint all over you.
And what also I like about that is that it confuses your brain. You're not looking at a face anymore. Mm-hmm. You're just looking at
shapes.
Patterns, yes. And you can see a lot more that way.
And then, add a little more here, add a little more there. Be a little more intentional in certain spots that maybe you didn't see it from a different perspective. See, I took a little bit of the black and I'm dirtying it up, making the background a little more dirty, a little more mysterious.
And you're just using a small brush for that.
Right.
Just a little brush.
It's a small brush, but with a
long hair
tip. Yes, it's a long hair tip.
Look, you can see the silicone tip brush.
Yes.
Clearly there.
Now I'm going over with pencil, believe it or not.
And what does that do?
I just wanted to clean up the eye a little bit, make it a little messy. See? Little scratchy marks. Little scratchy marks. It's nice to see it up close so you could see all the different layers. Okay. I think that's the end of the video.